My car didn't feel broken, but it definitely didn't feel right. It wasn't throwing any warning lights, no loud noises, no obvious damage. But every time I pressed the gas, there was this delay, this hesitation, like the engine was thinking about it before actually responding. The acceleration felt weak, slow, and honestly, kind of frustrating. And if you've ever felt that in your own car, you know exactly what I mean. It's not dead, but it doesn't feel alive either. So naturally, the first thought that comes to mind is expensive problems, engine issues, transmission trouble, fuel system problems, the kind of stuff that usually ends with a mechanic visit and a bill you didn't plan for. But before going down that road, I wanted to test something simple, a cheap fix, a $10 trick that a lot of people overlook, but some swear can actually bring a slow, unresponsive car back to life. And today, I'm going to test it step by step on a car that clearly doesn't feel as strong as it should. Because if this works, it could save you time, money, and a trip to the shop. But more importantly, it might change how you think about engine problems completely. Now, before we get into the fix, let's talk about what's actually happening here. Because most people assume that when a car feels slow, something major is wrong. But that's not always the case. Modern engines rely on a precise balance of air, fuel, and timing. And if even one small part of that system gets dirty, clogged, or slightly off, the whole driving experience changes. Not enough airflow, the engine struggles, fuel not mixing properly, power drops, sensors not reading correctly. The car reacts slower than it should, and over time, these small issues don't just stay small, they stack. What starts as a slight delay becomes noticeable hesitation. What feels like a minor drop in power turns into a car that just doesn't feel responsive anymore. And the worst part? Most of it happens slowly, so you don't even realize how much performance you've lost, until one day you drive another car and suddenly yours feels weak. So here's what I'm testing today, a simple low-cost method focused on improving airflow and engine response, without replacing parts, without tearing anything apart, and without needing professional tools. Just a basic cleaning and reset approach that targets one of the most common causes of sluggish acceleration. Because if airflow into the engine is restricted or misread, everything else suffers. So I'm starting with one of the most overlooked components in the entire system, the part that quietly controls how much air your engine thinks it's getting. Before touching anything, let's take a look at the current condition. This car has been driven regularly, nothing extreme, no major issues. But it hasn't had this specific maintenance done in a while, and that matters. Because over time, even normal driving conditions lead to buildup. Dust, oil vapors, microscopic debris. All of it can slowly collect in areas that are critical for airflow and sensor accuracy. And when that happens, your engine doesn't get the clean, consistent air it expects, which means weaker combustion, which means less power. Now, I'm not going to overcomplicate this. The goal here is simple. Clean what's dirty, restore what's restricted, and see if that makes a real difference. So I'm carefully accessing the intake area, making sure everything is handled properly, and focusing on the component that directly affects how your engine measures incoming air. And right away, you can see it. A light layer of buildup. Not extreme, not shocking, but enough to matter. This is exactly the kind of thing that most people ignore, because it doesn't look dramatic. But this is where problems start. Now I'm applying the cleaner. Nothing fancy. Just a proper safe product designed for this purpose, and this is important, because using the wrong cleaner here can actually cause more harm than good. So always make sure you're using something meant specifically for this kind of component. As the cleaner goes on, you can already see the difference. That dull, slightly dirty surface is starting to look clearer. And this is where patience matters. You don't rush it. You don't scrub aggressively. You let the cleaner do its job. Because this isn't about force, it's about precision. Now that everything is clean and reassembled, it's time for the moment that actually matters. Because none of this means anything if it doesn't translate into real-world improvement. So I'm starting the car, letting it idle, listening, feeling, and right away, there's a subtle difference. The idle feels smoother, more stable. Not a massive change, but noticeable. And that's a good sign, because it means the system is already responding. But idle is one thing. Acceleration is everything. So now, I'm taking it out. And this is where the real test begins. Pressing the gas, and there it is. That hesitation, reduced. That delay, less noticeable. The car feels more responsive, more willing to move when I ask it to. Not a night and day transformation, but definitely an improvement. And that's exactly what you want from a fix like this. Because here's the truth. No $10 trick is going to turn a weak engine into a brand new sports car. But that's not the goal. The goal is to restore what was lost. To remove the small restrictions that slowly build up over time. To bring the engine back closer to how it's supposed to feel. And in that sense, this works. Now, let's be clear about something. If your car has serious mechanical issues, worn components, or deeper engine problems, this won't fix that. But if your car feels slow, hesitant, or less responsive than it used to, this is one of the easiest, cheapest things you can try. And for something that costs around $10, the improvement is worth it. So before you assume the worst, before you spend hundreds at a shop, before you start replacing parts that might not even be the problem, it might be worth trying something simple first. Because sometimes it's not that your engine is weak, it's just not breathing properly. And once you fix that, everything starts to feel better again. Smoother, stronger, more responsive. Not perfect, but closer to what it should be. So the real question is, if your car started feeling slow tomorrow, would you go straight to the mechanic or try the cheap fix first?